you stop learning Claude projects. There's one layer above it that turns Claude into a domain specialist that auto-loads your SOPs the second you mention the right trigger word, and almost nobody is teaching it. If you're still pasting the same 400 lines of context into every chat, you're burning tokens and time for work Claude should already know how to do. In the next 14 minutes, I'll show you the 6 skills running an entire agency back office right now. Most tutorials stop at prompts. I'll show you the folder structure that makes prompts obsolete. I'm Lazar. I ship these systems for clients every week. Let's open the folder nobody opens. Here's the problem I see in almost every small business I audit. The founder discovers Claude, gets excited, builds a few projects, pastes a giant system prompt into each one, and within a month, they're back to copying context manually because every project has a slightly different SOP, and they can't remember which one does what. By month 3, the founder is spending 2 hours a day babysitting Claude instead of letting Claude babysit the business. That's the pain. And it's not a Claude problem, it's a layering problem. People are using prompts where they should be using projects, and projects where they should be using skills. Let me explain the difference in plain terms, because the official docs make this sound more complicated than it is. A prompt is a one-time instruction. A project is a workspace with persistent context. You pick it from a drop-down before you start chatting. A skill is different. A skill is a markdown file with YAM front matter that lives in a skills folder, and Claude auto-invokes it the moment your message matches a trigger condition. You don't pick it. You don't load it. You just talk normally, and the right skill activates itself. That's the layer above projects. That's what I'm going to show you. Let me walk you through the anatomy of a real working skill. Open any skill file, and you'll see 5 things. First, a name. Short kebab case, like invoice-parser or lead-qualifier. Second, a description. 1 sentence telling Claude what this skill does and when to use it. Third, trigger conditions. The phrases or context that make Claude reach for this skill. Fourth, the instructions block. The actual SOP, written like you'd brief a new hire. Fifth, examples. 2 or 3 concrete input-output pairs so Claude knows the shape of a correct response. That's it. No code. No API calls. Just a markdown file in the right folder. Let me show you a real one. We have a skill called invoice-parser that I built for a client who was hand-typing 200 invoices a week from PDF attachments. The YAM front matter says the name is invoice-parser. The description is parse incoming supplier invoices and extract line items, totals, VAT, and due dates into structured JSON. And the triggers are phrases like parse this invoice, extract from this PDF, or even just dragging an invoice file into the chat. The instructions block is about 120 lines. It tells Claude exactly which fields to look for, how to handle Cyrillic supplier names, what to do when VAT is missing, and how to format the output. The examples show 3 sample invoices with the exact JSON Claude should return. That file replaces roughly 300 lines of context the client used to paste into every single chat. And because it auto-loads on trigger, the client doesn't even think about it anymore. They just forward the PDF and the structured data comes back. Now let me show you the 6 skills running an entire agency back office. The first is invoice-parser, which I just described. The second is lead-qualifier. It takes a raw inbound email or form submission and scores it against an ideal customer profile, returning a qualification tier and a suggested next action. The third is gmail-triage. It reads an inbox snapshot and bucket sorts every thread into respond now, respond this week, delegate, or archive. The fourth is proposal writer. It takes a discovery call transcript and produces a first draft proposal in the agency's exact voice and pricing structure. The fifth is client onboarding. It generates the welcome email, the kickoff doc, and the access checklist the moment a new client signs. The sixth is weekly report. It pulls together project status from 3 sources and writes a client-ready Friday update. 6 skills. Each one replaces between 200 and 400 lines of repeated prompt context. Token usage per invocation drops by roughly 70% compared to pasting the SOP every time, because the skill only loads when needed instead of sitting in the context window all day. Now here's the decision tree I use, and you should steal it. If you're doing something once, use a prompt. If you're doing something repeatedly inside one topic, say you're working on one specific client account for a week, use a project. If you're doing something repeatedly across many topics, sessions, and contexts, and the SOP is stable, write a skill. The test is simple. If you've pasted the same instructions into Claude more than 3 times this month, that's a skill waiting to be born. Let me show you what this looks like live. I open a fresh chat. No project selected, no context loaded. And I just type, "Hey, can you triage my inbox? Here's the snapshot." Claude detects the trigger phrase, the Gmail-triage skill auto-loads, and within 10 seconds I get back a clean 4-bucket sort with suggested replies for the respond now items. I didn't pick a project, I didn't paste an SOP, I didn't even mention the skill by name. That's the magic. The folder structure does the work. One more thing before the wrap. Skills are version controllable. Drop the skills folder in a Git repo and now your whole team, or your whole client base, gets the same Claude behavior. Update one markdown file, push, and every Claude session in the org behaves the new way tomorrow morning. That's the part that makes this enterprise grade instead of a personal productivity hack. Most users will never open the skills folder. The ones who do stop being Claude users and start being Claude operators. If this is the kind of automation you want running in your business but you don't want to build it yourself, that's exactly what we ship at BizflowAI.io. Custom skills, integrations, and agents wired into your real stack. See examples of what we've built for clients at BizflowAI.io. While you're here, hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next breakdown, chaining 3 skills into a fully autonomous workflow, lands in your feed. And if you have a workflow you want automated, book a free 30-minute discovery call at BizflowAI.io and we'll map out exactly what your version of this looks like.